Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussain.
What's up, Khalid?
Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
I'm great, man. Monday fun day. We're just killing it as a people, as a society these days. You know what I mean? January was a breeze. Now we're going into February, and it's all sunshine.
Yeah, we're marching straight into a utopia.
Yeah. I always get them confused. Is it utopia or dystopia? It's always you know what I mean, though.
One of the topias. I wish it was Dinotopia.
I wish it was Zootopia.
Yeah, I guess that could be cool too.
Yeah, I think people of color are like predators in that movie.
That's right. Yeah, that's kind of the metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah, but then also just I guess a fox is a predator, but I think it's just so funny that even within the predators, they kind of gave Jason Bateman's character the little guy. We should do that on the pod sometime.
Jason Bateman?
Zootopia.
Yeah, we should. We could. We'd also do Dinotopia.
I don't know what Dinotopia is. I kind of just glossed over it earlier.
I know you did. I was annoyed.
I felt like you were just making something up.
No, it's a real thing. It's like a thing. It's like books and the movie and all sorts of fun stuff. It's a whole franchise.
Are you sure you're not talking about Land Before Time?
No. Dinotopia is a movie and a book series by Marco Brambilla.
You just Google that?
I did.
Okay. Well, you sure showed me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yes, anyway, February, we're starting fresh in a new month, and in the immortal words of David Lynch, or perhaps just what memes say that he said, let's do it once again, now this time good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There's a bunch of memes of him saying that. I don't know if he actually said it, but I like it still. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm pretty excited to be back. We got another fun episode for everyone planned. I do want to give a shout out to the Patreon. Plug the Patreon producers. Just want to give some thanks to our producers, who are Luke Johnson, Andy Groth, Jake Cole, Joe Michaud, who have joined at the $7 level. And if you would like to do so, you can just check us out at Frankenstein's podcast, or Patreon/Frankenstein's podcast, where you can check out our Franken bits, all sorts of other fun stuff, or just support us and make sure we don't have ads. I mean, I would take ads if somebody offered it, but nobody's offered us. So let's just keep us ad free with the Patreon.
Yeah, it's our choice to be ad free until someone offers.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Khalid, guess what?
What?
You sound a little stressed, Khalid. Why don't you keep your head on? Don't lose your head.
That's happening.
That's a segue, Khalid. What are we talking
about? Thanks for asking, Joe.
I was trying to do something head related.
Yeah.
Because he loses his head at one point.
I get it. Okay, I don't know, man. I'm tired. Which is really good, because this movie that we're about to talk about also made me feel just as exhausted. We are talking about the 1977 film written and directed by David Lynch, Eraserhead. And I have a synopsis written by your homeboy, Khalid, and it goes a little something like this. Henry goes through a quarter-life crisis when his wife leaves him and their alien love child that definitely smells as awful as it looks. In the famous words of Fred Durst, it's just one of those days. The black and white film manages to dazzle viewers with a spectrum of hellish scenarios, such as having dinner with your in-laws. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll watch a few video essays before confidently giving your opinion about this movie.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Boom. Good one, Khalid.
You like it?
I love it. I love it. It's great. Yeah, great description.
Thank you, thank you,
Pretty
thank
accurate.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of background before we dig in some thoughts here. This movie, so this was David Lynch's first feature film. He'd done some short, but he previously studied for a career as a painter, and he had created several short films to sort of animate his paintings. So that was kind of his initial goal, was being a surrealist painter. And then he started being like, well, I can maybe make more of a story out of this. And then he kind of pivoted to like full on filmmaking as kind of a passion. So interesting. Anyway, we decided to kind of do this movie. We haven't, I mean, we talk all sorts of weird shit on this podcast, but we've never done David Lynch. And there is no shortage of weird shit in David Lynch movies and properties. But in terms of a monster, this one has a doozy of one, or of a creature puppet. We'll get into it, but I thought this was an interesting one to choose. This goes back into his earliest film, Khalid. Before you tell me your thoughts on Eraserhead, what is your background with David Lynch, R.I.P.?
R.I.P. R.I.P. I think I'm like I have no real direct relationship to David Lynch's filmography. I think he's a big blind spot for me. But unlike some of the other blind spots that have come up over the years in the pod, this one really was like at least semi-intentional. I When I was a kid, he creeped me out, and I think I just kind of like held steadfastly to it. Now, like obviously, like in light of his like recent passing and like just the way social media really like has adored him over the years, it's kind of like endeared me to him in a way that when I was a kid I didn't really like get to see that side of him. I really like the few cameos of his I've seen, like the Fablemans is one that comes to
Oh yeah,
mind.
he
I
was
think
great in that. Yeah,
he was really a standout bit in a movie that like already was like on its way out the door, like it's like the
hmm
last scene, but he
yeah.
really just like it's just like a shot of coffee right at the end there almost. But I've seen a little bit of Twin Peaks and I've seen Wild at Heart. So that's kind of the extent of my David Lynch knowledge, obviously until now with Eraserhead. Um, yeah, honestly, like I feel like a lot of my relationship to David Lynch is kind of secondhand to like filmmakers that are really inspired by him, and so like I've enjoyed their work, which is obviously a direct relationship with his work. And then a lot of my friends who are in film or just fans of film that are big fans of his, I think a lot in the same way that like Star Trek is like so big in my life because of like your fandom alone, Joe. It's
hmm
like David Lynch in a lot of ways is that for some of my friends. So it's just like, if you care about your friends, you care about what they're into. And so you just by osmosis learn a lot. And
Yeah.
so
Oh,
yeah,
well
that's
said.
that's that's my relationship to Lynch. He was never my cup of tea, but I appreciated the flavor that he offered. What about you, Joe? What's your relationship with D Lynch?
Honestly, similar to you, Khalid. I'm not super familiar with a lot of his work. My mom watched Twin Peaks a little bit when I was a kid, and it kind of freaked me out too. But other than that, I think I watched Mulholland Drive in high school. But yeah, still pretty unfamiliar up until like this point. Again, similar to you, I had friends who were very into his work, and so like I've learned a little bit, and I'm intrigued, and it almost reminds me of how this podcast like introduced me to Cronenberg back when we first did The Fly. Like I
Mm.
was aware of Cronenberg, and I was like, I know I probably like his stuff, but I just haven't dived into it yet. But watching The Fly, I've like watched several of his movies since, even just like on our own, not even for the podcast. And like, I feel similarly to David Lynch here. Like, I feel like I'm really excited to dive into some of his work. Like this movie, and we'll get into our thoughts in a minute. Like, is like saying like for me is a stretch or a strong word, but like it made me feel things, and it made me very intrigued to like see what else like he was able to accomplish. Like with this as a starting off point, it's wild. So yeah, I'm excited to dig into it. And why don't we at this point? Like we're talking about Eraserhead, his debut film, 1977. I have background and other stuff about how this film came to be, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want to hear your thoughts, Khalid. Like when I was watching this, I was just like, oh my god, I cannot wait to hear what Khalid thinks about this.
um, I think so. Like, there are movies out there that make me feel like I don't know, like they can be like really like just so smart, or like it can feel like it's like so thought out in a way that like I'm just not connecting with. And I can feel like kind of like insecure about it, or like a little dumb about it. And so I am scared to even say I disliked it, because like that would assume that I understood enough about it to be like, that sucked. I know exactly what he was going for. That sucked. Like that's what I mean when I usually say I dislike something, is like I understand it and I dislike it anyway. And like that just doesn't like apply to certain movies. And I think that like Eraserhead is definitely one of them. And I mean, when I was younger, obviously like there was like a little bit of like an insecurity to it or something like that. And like I just feel like, oh no, he's so inscrutable. And now I like I'm older than Lynch was when he made this movie. You know what I mean? So it's like I it's not that it's inscrutable to me. It's just like every decision he makes, I can't think of how he got there, and I'm just at a loss. You know what I mean? So it feels like trying to like report on a hurricane while you're in the hurricane. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's just too much stuff is happening for me to like even get a sense of what's going on, let alone relay it to someone else. But I'll give it my best shot. I think the big thing that like was obvious to me throughout the movie was like, oh, these are like the anxieties that like a young man has when like the world is like asking things of him. You know what I mean? It's like, what are the right choices to make? Like, what am I like, if I am to commit to something, it has to be now, and I have to be sure about it like forever. And so like we see that kind of come out in a lot of ways, where it's like, do I commit to like a family? Do I commit to raising a child? Do I commit to like my cravings, my lust? You know what I mean? And it's like all of these things come with consequences, and it's like very, and that's just an existentially terrifying thing when everybody is like looking at you at a certain age and finally going like, all right, now make the choice. It's just like, I don't feel ready to make that choice right now. So seeing all of that manifested in a movie that's basically just like a bunch of vignettes of like nightmare scenarios, um, it's really interesting. I think that if I was a little bit younger when I saw this, I probably would have like connected with it a little bit more, just because a lot of this only works with the abstract. You know what I mean? Like you can only really be scared of a baby until like everyone around you starts having babies and raising them, and you're just like, oh, I knew that person when they also didn't know shit. So if they're raising a kid, I could do it. You know, like there's just like there's a relativity of it all that uh makes it kind of like lose its like punctuation to me. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. Um and I say, yeah, so I say all that to say, um I appreciated what he was going for. It looks so amazing, especially for like his first film and everything like that. Like the fact that it's like in black and white, and he really like takes like advantage of like just like really just like painting like striking images. You know, like they're not pleasant images for the most part, they're all upsetting, but it's like you'd be lying if you said like it didn't just like look amazing. So like it makes sense when you say like he was an artist before he became a director specifically. Like this is the kind of person that's like really concerned with like the visuals, like leaving an impression in a way that I appreciate. And it's clear that like this is how he built like something like this would build the career that we saw. Um, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. I am very curious to hear what your thoughts are, though, Joe.
Yeah, yeah, no, thanks, Khalid. That's well put. I think that, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like to say that I like this movie, like is a really strong word in this regard. Like I think that appreciate a better word choice for this. It's a nightmare. Like it's a nightmare movie. Like it's like a waking nightmare. Like you're saying, like it's anxieties, but it's like basically like what if you fall asleep with those anxieties and like all the things that you fear just start happening to you and you can't really control that, right? And that's interesting. And just to comment a bit about the aesthetics, like you're saying, I think that to me is one of the most striking and interesting parts about this too, because It's like that phrase, like, every frame a painting or whatever. Like I think that comes from his artistry. Like he wants to make every frame something that you could like pause and stick out and be like, that looks really cool. That looks really cool. Really fascinating. Look at the staging of this and all that. It's all very intentional. But on top of that, the choice to make it black and white, and the way that it's shot and the lighting, and this feel like this stuck out to me more having just watched the 1931 Frankenstein recently. That there are parts of this movie where like the acting does feel really theatrical in a certain way that evokes those like old school 1930s like black and white movies,
Mm.
and I thought that was really interesting because then at the same time, that's like coupled with sequences and scenes that I'm like, that could have been done like now. Like just like with the realism of like how this like puppet looks, or the little creature or something, or just like some sort of weird special effect or weird thing, like Urban Decay in the 70s or something. Like you're seeing that, like, so like the imagery and the acting, and it all contributes to this like this sort of like this dreamlike atmosphere where there's not a clear sense of time and there's not a clear sense of place. And I think that was really interesting and came through really, really well.
Very well
So
put. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. But that being said, in terms of like the movie itself, like, yeah, I'm really glad I've finally seen it. I feel like there's so many iconic images that I finally put into context, and it's a fascinating exercise, and especially like thinking about this being like this like scrappy production that he was like coming together. And I'm going to get into it here in just a moment, but like it took 5 years to make this movie. He made like a short film while making this, like in between things, like it took a lot to make this, and like securing funding and trying to put it all together. Like the fact that he's able to do something like this, like it's really interesting and really admirable and really cool. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that. I mean, like, it's just this thing of like making a movie is not easy, and like obviously, like, yeah, Captain Obvious. That's what I sound like when I say something like that. But it's true, and a big part of like what makes it hard is that like even when you're like doing something that's like might seem like on paper a no brainer, like the whole time it's just like people second guessing you or like questioning something or like pointing out something that maybe you hadn't considered, and it's like retaining whatever vision you had like from beginning to end is like super hard. And I can't imagine that it's any different for someone like Lynch when it's like on top of like all of the baseline things that like you could end up being like just undermining your own self confidence with. Like you have like shit like this where it's like yeah, now his head falls off and it's a baby, and it's a baby's head comes through the neck. Does that mean he's dead? No, his head just came off. What are you talking about? That's gonna happen a couple of times. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, as someone who tries to like write and like work in the industry and stuff like that, there are so many times that I was just like, oh, that doesn't even make any sense. Like it's got like this has to happen, and this has to happen, and then I watch something like this and I'd be like, no, it doesn't, stupid. You're not trying to like create like a credible world. You're trying to tell a story, and like I really do like that like David Lynch like is like so big on that, and like reminding you that like what you're doing is so it's not for the like nitpicky person that's like looking for like any reason to not believe your movie. It's about like giving people something to believe in, and that's like really cool.
Yeah, that is, yeah. That to your point about like things making sense. There's a little like anecdote that David Lynch told in the interview, that I have this link to this really cool interview. I'll put in the show notes and I'll talk more about it. But he talks about how somebody was helping him get this movie into Cannes, the Cannes Film Festival, and how he was like watching the first screening of like the people selecting it, and somebody who, one of the guys in the audience, was just like got up and just like angrily was like, people don't talk like that, people don't act like that or behave like that, and just like stormed out. Like that's true.
Fair.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
really is just that simple. It's just like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But like
Right.
if you can get past like that general discomfort of like, none of this feels right, and like you try to like meet him in the middle, yeah, I don't know. And I think it goes a long way that like it feels earnest what he's doing. It doesn't feel like a shtick. It doesn't feel like a gimmick. It's not some like attempt at auteurism. He's just genuinely like doing what he's like interested in, and it's interesting for if nothing else, it's interesting. I would say that this movie, when I was watching it, the thing that it made me think most of was the Ari Aster movie Beau is Afraid. Have you seen that?
I haven't yet. I want to though.
It's a lot. This this movie was a lot, but that movie is a lot in twice the runtime.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it is very long, and there's a lot of similarities in that like the whole movie is all about like we see everything through the neuroses of one man.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Henry, Beau is just kind of going through like this like existential crisis that's like kind of just upending his life in a way that Ari Aster just like brings to life in like this like really magical way. And you know, I love when a story does something like that. You know, kind of takes like the everyday like banal thing and just like breathes life into it, because like that's what our anxieties do. You know what I mean? It's they're no less banal and we go through it in real life, but like if internally, if it's affecting you directly, like something like as simple as just like, oh, having a kid, which like billions of people throughout time have done, you know,
Yeah.
it's still like creates like this like dread, like it's apocalyptic for some people, and so it's cool to see that manifestation.
Right. No, yeah, that is cool. Um, let's get into a bit of the background of making this, which I think is interesting, just because of being his first film and like I said, mentioned the scrappiness of it. So like the original screenplay for this was 22 pages long total, and he got a grant from AFI, the American Film Institute, but they actually declined to fund the film after the initial grant. 3 years into production, the money ran out, and David Lynch actually began delivering newspapers during production to help funding it. And it took 5 years to finally finish the movie, and he had to like get funding from like people. Like it was like some weird trivia that like Terrence Malick I think was a fan and helped like give him some money, and like Sissy Spacek and all that was also part of it. But like people that he made connections with kind of helped him along the way a little bit. But
Mm.
ultimately, like it was kind of a grind to make, and it took a long time. There's like a really I was trying to clock it, but there's a scene where Henry, the main character, I think Jack Nance is the actor. He opens a door, and then he goes through the door and closes it. And the two scenes of him, one of him opening it and the one of him closing it, were filmed 18 months apart. And that's kind of a cool like fun fact to try and find that sequence. But anyway, during this movie, David Lynch began like his interest in transcendental meditation and became a vegetarian and gave up smoking and alcohol. Jack Nance, the actor, kept that frizzy haircut throughout all 5 years of this. Yeah, so that was wild. Uh, but yeah, so it's interesting. But the actual story, um, if anyone's heard of like Franz Kafka or read like Metamorphosis, very influential in this. Like, so Lynch is very influenced by Kafka's 1915 novel Metamorphosis, which is about a salesman who wakes up to find himself transformed into a giant insect. I think you and we read it in AP English, if you remember, Khalid, high school.
Yeah, I definitely do, Miss Weber, if you're listening.
Hey, Miss Weber. Also, on top of that, it's also influenced by a story from the author Nikolai Gogol, an 1836 satirical Russian short story called The Nose, which tells the story of a St. Petersburg official whose nose leaves his face and develops a life of its own. So he like was influenced by these kind of like weird, surreal, metaphysical, like existential dread stories, and kind of pulled from that into this, which I think that shows. I feel like when people say something is Kafka-esque, I could see like how Kafka-esque could morph into like Lynchian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I think that was interesting. Tonally and aesthetically, he kind of like drew on like a childhood growing up in like violent, poverty-stricken neighborhoods in Philadelphia, where he said like I saw a lot of weird stuff. But this is the kind of interesting thing. Like you brought this up a lot, how it's like there's a fear of fatherhood, of having a baby, right?
Mm.
And so his daughter, David Lynch's daughter, Jennifer, who had been born with severely club feet, which required lots of corrective surgery as a child, and her own unexpected conception and birth defects. And she has said this in a quote that she says that were the basis for some of the film's themes. And so Jennifer grew up to be like a director. She's done some movies and she directed a bunch of TV. She actually directed a bunch of Agents of Shield, which we watched too. But
Nice.
yeah. So I was like, I read that, and my thought was like, what kind of relationship do they have if this is like based on his fear of like having her? You know, like this is pretty fucked up, right?
Mm.
And anyway, so I actually did a little deep dive into Jennifer Lynch and her relationship with her father, and she actually says that he was a phenomenal father and that she has a really great had a really great relationship with him. So a little bit complex, sometimes hard to separate dad from director, but she said while he's not a normal dad, she considers him the best dad he could have been, and the relationship was always positive. And she talks about, because she was actually alive when this was being made, she was little, growing up basically on the set of Eraserhead, because it went on for like 5 years. And she says like the memories were some of the most formative of her life, and like some of the actors became people who would help put her to sleep and sing her lullabies. It just felt like this whole like family thing. And she said that she actually asked if she could play with Spike, the baby prop, and David Lynch was like, "Yeah, but just don't touch him." So she would basically like go hang out and talk to the Spike prop, which they nicknamed. Oh, let's get to it later. They nicknamed the baby Spike on set, and so she was like super fascinated by that as like a small child, which is kind of awesome.
That's so cute.
Yeah, oh, that's kind of cute. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, I thought that's very fascinating. Like, and always like, and I know it's not a universal truth, but this is something I found that like I feel like sometimes some of the creatives that we talk about, especially on the podcast, who come up with just the weirdest, like off-putting, unnerving stuff that we watch, like turn out to somehow just have like this like the kindest, most like nice sets. You know, sometimes like I feel like that was true of like Cronenberg, like when he worked with the kid, like he made sure she had like a wonderful experience. You know, and like all these things like where they go through some weird stuff on screen but they make sure the off screen and stuff is like fun and like happy, and they're usually really nice. Like it's
I
kind of
mean, I
nice.
wonder if there's like some kind of like I wonder if it's a correlation versus causation type thing of like because they're able to like so eloquently and like vividly like relay like these like fantasies and stuff like that just
Hmm.
translates to like a degree of like communication that speaks to how introspective you'd have to be. You know what I mean? Like you can't really be a good communicator without like a level of intuitiveness. You know, even beyond just like
Yeah,
knowing a bunch of words or anything like that. It's like how you convey it.
yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah, so it's just like just a different avenue to like get out some things that would maybe be pent up in somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a fascinating thing to think about. But
Yeah,
also, you know, there's a lot of people that make weird stuff and are just like shitty weirdos too. So I don't know
also
what the
true.
final I don't know
Also
what the
true.
final results of that polling is, but we have a
Yeah.
sample size of 2 if that helps.
Yeah, those two are cool. Yeah, anyway, but I thought that, yeah, I thought that's pretty interesting. um Also wanted to ask you, so you were kind of saying like unnerving, off-putting. I think we use those words. Do you consider this a horror film?
No, I don't consider it a horror film because it's more artsy than horror-y. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's yeah, it's existentially terrifying. I've used that word a couple of times, but
yeah.
like, you know, so is This Is 40. I wouldn't call that a horror
Yeah,
film either. It's just
some might.
Judd Apatow's agent would no. It's yeah. I don't think so. Just by the classic definition of horror, like this isn't Nosferatu. This isn't It Follows. This is it's a guy that's like having like kind of like relatable problems in a surreal, bizarro world. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's like at no point am I like scared for him, even when he
Yeah, same.
literally is like getting his head like fucking dissected.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. What he like his head literally becomes erasers. Like that the title. The title is literal in the movie. That floored me.
You were floored.
I was floored. Like I didn't know. I mean, I didn't really think about it, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know why titles are the way they are. But I was like, oh, yeah, that's just actually a scene where they take him to the eraser factory, and then they make him into erasers. The head,
I'll
the
be
head.
honest. I thought it was the hair. I thought that like, literally all these years I've never questioned it. I saw the title and then I saw the main guy on the cover, and I was like, oh yeah, it kind of looks like a eraser.
Yeah, I mean, that would also make sense.
I never interrogated it beyond that. So when they were like, no, it's his head is literally broken down into erasers. I was like, oh, okay. In retrospect, that makes sense. I don't know many erasers that look like that.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. We got to talk about. I feel like because that's the sequence leads to it. We got to talk about the lady in the radiator,
Is that
right?
the cheeked one that's like
That
talking about
yeah, every
like
time he
heaven and shit?
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, in heaven everything is fine, right?
Yeah, man, that shit was that was that if there was more scenes like that, I would say it's a horror.
That was yeah, that was unnerving, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, let's get into it. Like, is the idea just as straightforward as like she's death?
I don't know because she also like is she also like stomps on those little like critters that I think that are meant to maybe be sperm.
Right.
Like she stomps on them and like when she's going back and forth, like I wasn't sure if that's supposed to be like I don't know, like fears of like sex in some way. Because like
Or at least like what sex represents, like life.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure which. Okay, so I actually have a quote from David Lynch from this interview, this really long interview. It's from Chris Rodley's 1997 book Lynch on Lynch, where he interviewed him for like a ton of stuff, and there's a transcription on the Criterion Channel website. But he talks about the lady in the radiator was not in the original script. So here's the quote from David Lynch. It's a little bit long, but I want to read it because it's fascinating. He says, quote, I was sitting in the food room one day and I drew a picture of the lady in the radiator, but I didn't know where it came from. But it was meaningful to me when I saw it finally drawn. And then I saw the radiator in my head, and it was an instrument for producing warmth in a room. It made me sort of happy. Like me as Henry, say I saw this opening into another place, so I ran into the set and looked at the radiator more closely. You know, there are many different types of radiators, but I'd never seen another radiator like this. It had a little kind of chamber, like a stage in it. I'm not kidding you. It was right there, and it just changed everything. So then I had to build the doors and the stage and do the whole thing. One thing led to another, and suddenly there she was.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah. So
And
he just
yeah, it's
basically
just
yeah, he's just kind of like looking at radiators, like, well, he just like kind of had a picture of this woman, like a weird lady, and then like was thinking about radiators and was like, what if there's a stage in a radiator? And that's how we got it.
and what if the lady on the stage was kind of telling you to kill yourself?
Yeah, you just stomp on your sperm.
Yeah, he kind of stopped short of that part of his story.
He does.
It's like, David, are you okay?
Yeah, right. Right. But yeah, that was an odd one. Yeah, that was creepy. The lady.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it was very unsettling, but also I did enjoy the song a little.
I kind of liked it too. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. David Lynch wrote the song.
that he wrote the movie, Joe. That's not
I
that
know.
surprising.
Sometimes people don't write their own songs.
It's like it's like 2 bars.
Yeah, it's not that bad, is it? Not that
I'm not that like it's not unimpressive. It's just like I'm not like
hard. I
what.
mean, maybe I could have written it. I don't know.
You just told me he looked at a radiator and somehow like imagined a whole like setup that he went and designed. Like I don't I'm not like stretching, bending over backwards to like believe he wrote the song too.
Came up with this, but I stop at song.
Ah, music, my old nemesis.
Uh, okay, so I really want to ask you. So we talked about the lady in the radiator. What were some of the other like really like striking like scenes that just you were just like, huh, or maybe like made you really uncomfortable?
I texted you about this, but the menstruating chicken.
Yeah, that's kind of the first like big one, isn't it?
Yeah, it just goes on for so long.
Yeah, it's
It's
so
just
weird.
it's gross.
Yeah. What'd you think of
Um,
the mom and dad in that scene?
I thought they were funny.
They were pretty funny.
More than anything. Again, like that's why at no point was I like, oh no, what are they gonna do to him? Like
Yeah,
they're crazy, but like in a harmless way. Which is
I
like, sorry,
I
go
love
ahead.
the dad. I love the dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he's like,
His
hey, look at my
physicality.
knees.
Yeah, we look at my knees. That shit was so funny.
And that was Alan Joseph, hometown hero, born and raised in Minneapolis. That actor.
Yeah, go Alan.
Yeah, pretty cool.
No, the parents were great. It was really funny.
Yeah,
Um, and then I think the other one that really got me was when he kills Spike.
yeah. When he cuts open the swaddle.
Yeah, yeah, like everything about the way that was shot, and it's like it's weird because the whole movie, every time they would cut to it, I was like, just kill it, like just instinctively in my mind, and not like I'm not proud of it or anything, but like just very soberly, I was like, oh, kill it, like every time I saw it, which is the point. And so, but
Mhm.
then when he actually does it, it's kind of heartbreaking.
You're right. It was because it's kind of like it looked like it was like having trouble breathing and stuff, and I was like, oh.
And it's also like just like helpless, you know what I mean? Like it's just and it's just like
And it really made you sit with it too for a while. Like they
dude,
didn't let that
it's
be quick.
how slow and like deliberate it all was. It really makes okay if you're
Yeah,
gonna kill it, like sit with it, and it's just like damn, that's real.
yeah. I also love earlier in the movie when like after his wife like leaves the first time and he's just kind of sitting there with like the old timey humidifier and takes its temperature. Remember that? He's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, you really are sick."
um, I really love the set design. We didn't really get a chance to talk about that, but
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
a lot of it just looks so cool. I think there's like a bunch of fun little ideas to it. Like the plants are just in piles of dirt.
Hmm.
Then none of them are in like pots or anything. I thought that was like a cool touch.
I think that was
Um,
really interesting. Can I just take a quick aside before you go on here? I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
like I was trying to like come up with like the themes of like what are going on in my head. Like, of course, we got the fear of fatherhood, anxiety of responsibility and stuff. But like there's kind of like this fear of like social neglect. You know, like it's kind of got that like decay or dystopian landscape, like you're saying. But I think the idea was really interesting that new life, any example of new life is like corrupted. Like big example is this the baby Spike, right? Is like
Mhm.
a weird thing. But also every time we saw plants, I feel like in his room he just had like dirt piles with plants, but none of them could grow leaves. It seemed like it was all sticks and twigs that would grow, and it was all like not growing correctly. I thought that was kind of an interesting like touch as well.
That's a really good observation, actually. Yeah, I mean, I think it all just like kind of lends itself to the nightmarish feeling, which leads me to
Hmm.
like the I love the like windy sound that like we're
The
hearing the whole
sound
time.
design, yeah,
Yeah,
that was so good.
feels like he's like in like a land of the dead in a lot of ways. Then you know what I mean, like as opposed to just like
Hmm.
the plane, like a plane where living people live.
Yeah, like not of our, our reality in a
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. Yeah, I think I texted you that if this feels like it could have been like an exceptionally disturbing Twilight Zone in a lot of ways at points.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that like I don't know what time, like place and time this was made. You know, like yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
pretty wild.
How does all of the baby fear like read to you as a father?
It's a really good question. I don't know. Like I never really like. I feel like we prepared ourselves for such a long time that I mean, there's fear and like nervousness and stuff, but I never had this like, oh my God, like I don't know, like I, this existential fear. Like it's just like it's hard to relate to that. But there's always like I feel like the one thing that's interesting that I feel like is a little relatable is like once you're responsible for a kid, I think, and you have like this, child which you love and you like with all your heart, there's like not, like the idea of like a nightmare where something is wrong with them that you can't figure out or fix is like that's real. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like that element where it's like if this is like some sort of nightmare where this baby like is my child and I can't figure out what's going on there and it's like terrifying, like that's a very scary concept, I would say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I get where you're coming from. I was just curious because, like, as I was watching it, I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I think it comes back down to like this feels like a guy younger than us expressing
Yes.
anxiety.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think it's like early on. Yeah, it's like early like fatherhood, of course, or like parenthood kind of fears and anxieties and stuff. And like, I mean, I vividly remember too, like when we first had our first kid, like when you leave the hospital, I was like, that's it. Like they're not gonna like check on anything or give me anything. Like we just go.
Where's the baby's guard?
You don't just like sit here. Oh, you're good. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, no. I mean, I think like actually it did lead me to like I feel like the idea of like when like a baby's crying like over and over and you can't figure out what's going on, you're just like I can't take it anymore. Like the woman, like when she's like I gotta go, and I'm like that is relatable. Like sometimes in those middle like late nights, you're just like I can't take it anymore, and you need a
Yeah.
break. And then ideally, when your partner can help step in, and like you guys can trade off, and that's what like makes good partnerships. But like of course, this is an unconventional, not so untoxic relationship that we probably saw in this movie.
Mm,
Um, yeah, but I don't know. Yeah,
not
it's interesting.
so untoxic.
Yeah, I don't know why I said it that way, but
You're really making people work for that analysis.
I really did, didn't I? Yeah. Anyway, speaking of the monster, the Spike, the child. I don't want to say monster. I don't know if monster is the right word. The little critter, um, the little tyke.
Bundle
Should we
of
talk
joy.
about him? Yeah,
Yeah, let's not monster?
you can just say let's monster. It's
All
weird if
right.
you don't.
Let's monster.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, the I want to say prop. We don't actually know what it is, and I'm going to get into that. But his call was called Spike on set, so we're going to refer to it as Spike, the baby. So the physical effects that were used to create the deformed child, Spike, have been kept secret. Did you know this, Khalid, already?
No.
Yeah. So the projectionist who worked on the film was blindfolded by Lynch to avoid revealing the prop's true nature, and he has since David Lynch ever since his whole life refused to discuss the effects in subsequent interviews. That being said, we can tell it featured several working parts. The neck, the eyes, the mouth were all capable of independent operation, which the prop was really eerie and really good. I don't know if I feel like you should agree with me on that, but like it was really
It was good, yeah.
effective, really effective. So anyway, essentially nobody knows except for David Lynch, like what it was made of and how it worked. Isn't that wild?
Pretty wild. I mean, if I
Yeah.
had to guess, I'd say like glycerin and like some kielbasa sausages.
So no, okay, interesting. Some say this is like a legend that some people think that it was created from an embalmed fetus of a calf. Lynch has neither confirmed nor denied that. And other people say it was like an animal carcass that he found and repurposed. Some say it was like a basically like a fetus of a lamb. Um, Apparently, after completing the film, David Lynch buried it in an undisclosed location, and at the wrap party, they had a mock wake for it as well.
Wow,
So,
he sounds like a fun time.
but
um
the idea, I feel like I was kind of like combing like message boards and like articles that people have been asked because people have asked him about it so many times in interviews. He's just like, no, I'm not gonna say. But I feel like some people contest the idea that it was something like actually organic a little bit because especially given the time frame that it took to make this, the 5 years, like rot, decomposition setting in, even if it's embalmed, like embalming slows that down. But there would probably be like rigor mortis or like other things, like something would slow the process down, but maybe not stop it altogether. And so, like, possibly, but it might be more likely that it was some sort of prop, that wasn't an actual like organic thing.
I sure hope so, because even if like he was like making fresh ones over the years, the smell alone, like don't
Yeah,
you got actors working for you for half a decade, man. That's not cool. Don't make them sick.
like, and
Yeah.
And I go back to like that story that his daughter said, where she like didn't touch it, but she hung out next to it and like talked to it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like she would have a distinct like, oh, and it smelled. You know what she
Yeah.
was saying? Like then it would be like a big clue, but she didn't say that.
Yeah. And then one summer I got typhoid or like,
Yeah, right?
yeah, no, I want to believe they wouldn't have like actual like rotting meat on set for days,
Yeah.
if not months, if not years.
I think that's probably true. I mean, he's very coy. He plays very coy about it. Like he says, maybe it was found or maybe it was made somewhere. Like I think that's the most he's ever said about it. But like David Lynch, and I'm going to go back to that interview again, is very like I feel like it's interesting because you talked about how like somebody else making a movie like this, like it's like they get pretentious with it, and like you felt like this was very earnest. And he has an interesting quote where he talks about the idea that he doesn't like to reveal the meanings behind things because he doesn't want he thinks the fun of it is people being like, let's talk about it and like figure it out and puzzle it together. And he thinks it's fun that everyone has a different meaning. He's like, if I say it, it's going to ruin it for everybody, all these people, you know. Which I think is
Yeah.
kind of an interesting idea. Like he said, here's the quote. I can read it to you. He's like, "I love the idea that one thing can be different for different people. There are films or writings that you could read once and then 10 years later read again and get way more from them. You've changed. The work stays the same, but suddenly it's got way more meaning for you depending on where you are. I like things that have a kernel of something in them. They have to be abstract, and the more concrete they are, the less likely that this thing will happen."
I love that. I immediately think of like people that just can't let their work like just live on its own. Like they have to
Right.
keep like just wrapping up
Tinkering.
whatever like their self image is with like the legacy of this thing. J.K. Rowling really jumps to mind. Obviously,
Hmm.
all of her cancelable, rightfully cancelable takes aside, like I still remember like when every once in a while she would just like jump online and just be like, "Oh yeah, wizards used to poop on the floor and then just use their wand to wave it away." And I'm just like, "Who's this for?" Like
That,
you,
yeah, that's a real one, isn't it? Like, didn't she say
yeah,
that? That's a
yeah.
real
That's
one.
that's a real one. It's just like nobody needed that, you know. And I do think that there is just kind of a thing of like, as the author, you have the most to say about this already by virtue of you created it. So like let other people in on the conversation when you're done. You don't need to go back and like put in some like liner notes now, you know?
Yeah. Like leave some things up to the imagination. Exactly. Like how do wizards poop? Like, I don't know, let people figure that out. That's what fanfic can be for.
Also, why is that a question that needs answering?
Great point.
I'm not like, how did people on the Enterprise poop? You
I
know
think
what I
people have
mean?
asked that
I
though.
assume it's something similar to a bathroom, but for their world. Like, and even then, I don't even get to that part because I don't ask the question that would get me there.
Well, actually, Khalid, the transporter transports it out of them before they have to poop.
Oh, that sounds dangerous. I feel like I would like
I'm joking.
lose like
I'm
my
joking. I made
lower
that up.
intestine or something.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff.
That's too specific of a target.
That's the Cronenberg Star Trek.
um yeah, no, I'm glad that he understands just on a basic creator level, like, yeah, like the fun is in discussing it. If I get into it, it's not fun anymore. I'm like canonizing things that just I'm very clearly pulling out of my ass.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's interesting, and I think it's like I mean he's made clear like certain themes and stuff that are there, but like and like some elements that were personal for him, but like ultimately, yeah, like the idea like he's putting something out there for like other people to like have fun with and like enjoy and like take things from and find meaning in. Like, yeah, why you know why mess around with that? Like it's fun, and that's why we have podcasts, I guess, right?
Mhm. That's why we
Yeah,
have
exactly.
podcasts. Leave it up to us, D.
Yeah. There's a another kind of an interesting quote where he was in an interview, and I think there's a clip of it, like it's a video interview where where he says, um, "In many ways, Eraserhead is my most spiritual film." And the interviewer's like, "Oh, could you elaborate on that?" And he's like, "No."
Oh man, R.I.P. to a real one.
Right? Oh yeah, he's great. Oh man. Um,
So wait,
any
is
other
he
thoughts?
the sole designer of Spike? But before we jump off this, because you're saying like that, it's like he never gave away the secrets or anything. So like, presumably nobody else had anything to do with the creation of it?
If so, they are sworn to secrecy. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot out there other than lots of wild speculation.
That's really interesting. I mean,
Yeah, it's super interesting.
if he did it all by himself, like really impressive.
Yeah, like how did he? Yeah, the mechanics of like making the mouth and the neck move, like it was really, really good.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just the more I hear about this guy, the more I just like got to give it up to him. It's like, yeah, you might be a weirdo, but you're intelligent as hell. Like
Yeah.
you can't
Well,
do
like,
a
and
lot
also
of this without that.
yeah, and they do a lot with the prop too. Like, not only not, I mean, it's one thing if it's just been laying on the table the whole time, which it does quite a bit, lay on the table. But then like you use it to like replace Henry's head for a while. That image, that was a great image. Like in the suit
Yeah,
and like those little hands still going and all that. But like, and then they have a really giant version of it too later on. Like, remember that? Like after it dies, like the giant head,
yeah. My
which I
roommate
don't
said it
know, it
looked like
was
Barney.
with like Barney, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
was it? I guess I gotta wonder, like, if that even was a giant, or if that was just like a zoomed in camera shot of the actual version. I don't know. They
we'll
could probably play
never
around with
know,
perspective on
Joe.
that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll never know. I guess. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, speaking of giant things, Khalid.
Ew.
Um, really?
I don't know. It just I thought you were transitioning
To what?
fight or flirt.
And that's a segue, Khalid. Fight or flirt.
Yeah. Okay, so the ew is
Yeah,
justified.
I'll let you take me there. I want to ask you, Khalid. Speaking of taking me there, I want to ask you, Khalid. What's your fight or flirt? What does your fight or flirt look like with a movie such as Eraserhead? Like the creature's a baby, so I don't know if fighting or flirting would work there. But I don't know. What's your fight or flirt take here?
I feel like we established a little bit back that like sometimes we are just talking about like babies for the creature. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And in those instances, I think I just have to come up with like a third thing because
that's right.
although I'm not above fighting a monster baby, let's make that clear. I am above flirting with any kind of baby, but I'm not above fighting certain monster babies. Like technically, a Godzilla baby would be a fair fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So don't get it twisted, monster babies. You're not all getting off the hook of the fight part, but Spike gets off the hook for the fight part too. So in this
Okay.
case, I would neither fight nor flirt with Spike. I would politely smile as Henry shows me a picture of his kid. And then I would immediately run back and text you and be like, "Oh my god, I just saw the ugliest baby." So, so I would talk shit about this baby, and that's just the God's honest truth. Like that is such a. It's just if I was like in this world, like I'd be like, "Yo, you see Henry's kid?
Oh wow.
Yo,
Yeah.
go check Henry's Facebook. He just posted the kid, dude. It's fucking gross, dude. Like that's what I'd be doing.
So rather than fight or flirt, you might fabulate.
I don't know what that word means.
Well, it doesn't quite apply. I was trying to find an F word for you here.
Uh
It's basically like gossiping, but it's gossiping something that's untrue. This would be true, so I guess maybe not.
no, this is 100% true. Like you would be like, "Oh, gee, I'm checking now," and then like we just be texting back and forth.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But yeah, I wouldn't fight Spike. It's again like even ugly babies don't deserve to just get like catch hands. You know what I mean? You got to
Yeah,
do more than just be ugly.
it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree with that?
No. What about you? Fight, flirt, or talk shit?
I mean, this is your thing, Khalid. I don't know, like
It is my
what?
thing. Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I would do.
Okay.
I don't know. What? I was trying to think of something unique, but honestly, like, I don't know, you took a good answer, and I'll probably just do what you did. I would, like, honestly, like, true what I would do. I would, like, text you about it, be like, you gotta check this out because we have a monster podcast together. This dude has, like, a monster baby.
Dude, do you think he'd let us, like, interview the monster baby?
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
So what are your influences?
It's just screaming.
Who are your guys?
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
The best.
Any final thoughts on Eraserhead?
I don't know that it made me a David Lynch convert, but it has added to my overall appreciation of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I think that I was already kind of in the camp of a David Lynch convert, like after he died, and like just again like friends that are really into him. Like I was like, okay, I need to dig into this guy and find some stuff. I would say that Eraserhead, hard to say I like it, but I'm fascinated by it. Glad I watched it. Glad it's out there.
Yes, sir. 2 times.
Should we? All right. Should we move on to our final segment of the show?
Let's do it.
All right. Our last segment of the show is our famed What the Fandom segment, in which we share something that we're into at the moment. And 1 to 2 things. Sometimes Khalid used to do 3 when you're feeling it. But
it might be well over a year since I've done 3 things, if not multiple years. You really just have hung on to that.
I have, yeah. Anyway, Khalid, what the fandom with you this week?
Thanks for asking, Joe. So my What the Fandom this week, actually, I was lucky enough to go to see Nemesis, the Palestinian Canadian singer, in concert on Saturday. She's been my What the Fandom in the past episodes. And while I was there, it was a great show. Loved it. She did the latest album verbatim, if you haven't heard it. But my What the Fandom is actually going to be her opening act. It's this young woman named Chloe George, and she has an album called A Cheetah Hunting in Slow Motion, and she's just such a lovely singer. She seems like she's relatively new. I think she was discovered on TikTok, but she just has like a really great like vocal range. I would say that she's similar to like SZA in like her style. But yeah, she's relatively new to the game. If you're trying to get on the ground floor of like a cool new artist and support somebody that you think's got the chops, I really think you should give Chloe George a chance. And yeah, that's my What the Fandom this week, contrary to what Joe would have you believe. Joe, What the Fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. I'm going to give you 2 that are 2 wildly very different ends of the spectrum here. First one I wanted to give a shout out to was a manga that I read about a month or 2 ago. I finished up the first volume of it. It's called PTSD Radio by Masaki Nakayama. This was lent to me by our buddy Jim Tandberg, who does the art for the podcast, which has been amazing, by the way. I always want to shout that out.
Thank you, Jim.
But he lent me this one and a couple other mangas that I've been reading, and this one is very unnerving. It's kind of like I don't want to say too much about it because I'd like people to like look into it, but it's like small vignettes featuring like some sort of demon that has something to do with hair. So like Khalid, remember we talked about Uzumaki and this and how Junji Ito made spirals terrifying, right? Like this is doing what he did for spirals, but for hair. Like it just makes hair terrifying now. And so it's really interesting. It's really interestingly told. A lot of like really cool and gnarly imagery. The author has stopped writing it because apparently he said some stuff that he wrote in the stories had been happening to him in real life, which is really creepy or really good marketing. I'm not sure. So that's interesting. But yeah, fascinating story. Very creepy. I like horror manga. I just feel like there's some really like crazy, wild ideas that come out of that kind of come out of Japan and just like those minds when they write in those mangas. So recommend that one. Check it out if you're into something like unnerving and unsettling and you want some more after watching Eraserhead, I guess. Second thing I wanted to give a shout out to when Nicole was on the pod a couple months ago, wife of the podcast, Nicole. talked about Dogman the musical. Remember that?
Yeah.
We got the chance to actually see the theatrical outing for Dogman the other day. So now, now that there's a musical, there's books, and now there's a movie from DreamWorks Animation that just dropped the end of January here, and we took our kids with some of their cousins all together. It was a big like family outing, and we got to go see it. It was our littlest one's first movie theater experience. That was really cool for him, and they loved it, and I kind of loved it too. Like I've been really getting into the books. Like I've mentioned before. I think I mentioned when Nicole shouted out Dogman then, but it's kind of like RoboCop for kids, and they like. I feel like the movie played that up even more. Almost like there was like a shot where Dogman goes into his old house, and like some of the walls are painted over, and he has memories of running through the house with his family at the time. And I'm like, that is a 1-to-1 scene in RoboCop. You know, like like it was great, and then the voices were good. Like you had Lil Rel Howley and Isla Fisher, and Pete Davidson was actually really good in it too. And one of my favorites, who I love hearing or seeing in any movie, Stephen Root had a great little bit role. Very excited that he was there. Always great to see him. But yeah, it was really fun. It was I think DreamWorks sometimes has some really interesting animation styles. Like Pixar is great and beautiful, but they always have a very similar style between each movie, you know? But like DreamWorks kind of mixes it up. And I feel like this movie, I think Captain Underpants, I didn't see that, but was similar. It's the same author. They have this really like kinetic and unique like animation style that just made it a really interesting thing to watch. Like it just felt cool. Like the lines were not always straight, and they were, it was very pop arty, where they'd have like kind of like comic-y, like comic things would pop up, and then the characters would sometimes interact with like the word bubbles, and like it was just really unique, really uniquely crafted, I think, and I thought that was really fun. So I liked it. I would like to support that. I like to support like unique animation, and I think it's like a good series. Has some dumb, silly, like potty humor that's funny for the kids, but also has some deep themes at times. So yeah, I dig it. Check out Dogman.
Well, reigning endorsement, Dogman. Maybe when I'm back in town with the kiddos, I'll take them to see it too.
Oh, I bet they would love it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad to be back in the swing of podcasting. It was great to do Frankenstein last time, and now we're back with another banger of a crazy movie. So we'll be back in your ear holes 2 weeks from here.
Yeah, we will. No, I echo your sentiments. This has been really fun. We are kicking this year's ass in terms of podcast episodes that are enjoyable. So yeah, thank you, Joe, for another amazing discussion, and thank you all at home or wherever you're listening for listening. Until next time, creep it easy.